You're listening to Binjang 91.5 and it's time for Tech Talk with Mathew Dickerson. I'm your host, Tony Graham. Good afternoon, Mathew.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tony. Good to chat to you again. Always great to be talking technology. There is a bit of a focus about COVID-19 at the moment, but I think that's what the world is talking about at the moment.
Yeah, we're living in that world, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing off the rank today is that London health workers are to receive free e-bike loaners to avoid public transport. Now, this is a trial, isn't it?
It is a trial, and obviously if you're a health worker, you're really on the front line and you're exposing yourself to risks associated with COVID-19. But we want those people there to be on the front line trying to help all residents that end up maybe in a health system, whether it be COVID-19 or something else. I mean, you might have a car accident, you might have something that happens that would have happened without COVID-19 there. So it's really important that they stay as healthy as possible. Catching public transport to work and back is obviously a great way to be exposed to a huge number of people that potentially could infect you. So at the moment, London health workers, as a trial, are being lent e-bikes to basically use that to get to work and back rather than use public transport. So I'm a big fan of e-bikes. I think it's a really convenient way to get around. You can probably do about 25 kilometres an hour quite easily on an e-bike without working up too much of a sweat. And that's a great way for people to get around the tight streets of London and get into work.
I think that's a fantastic idea. Now, phone location data is being used to track Americans amid the coronavirus outbreak, according to a report. So,
yes. So we know about metadata. We know about the fact that there is information from your phones that's always being collected by the carriers. Obviously, what we don't want is we don't want to have the information that says Tony Graham is sitting in this location right now, but knowing in general where people are with that information, that individual information being removed from that data, is really important in the fight against COVID-19. If the authorities, health authorities in particular, get a handle on where people are, where they move to, how they move around, just their general movements for a day, it gives them much more information about where they might be exposed, how much that virus might be spread around. And one of the things that already the health authorities are seeing from that initial data that's coming through is that it's quite incredible where people are going, how much people are actually moving around, so the potential spread is even more than they feared it might be.
So Matthew, for that to happen, do you have to turn location on your mobile phone for that to work?
So the carriers have got information about your phones and where you are. And essentially those programs that you're talking about, you've got the choice to turn that data on or off, but the carriers have still got that information about that location. So again, on a what I would call on a gross level, not an individual level, they can see the movement of that particular phone and the data associated with that. And that phone data is used for a whole range of things. When you go into your maps and look at how long it's going to take you to get from A to B if you leave at 9 o'clock in the morning compared to if you leave at 10 o'clock at night, that metadata in that gross form is being used to work out where you are and what sort of time frame it might take to get from A to B. So that data is incredibly useful, but again, people are concerned about individual data being identified for you as an individual, which is fair enough. So that's where that individual data is stripped out of it.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Now, there's a house party app which is entertaining people that are bunkering down during the coronavirus outbreak. The house party app.
Now, ScoMo has said we can't have a house party, so we can't gather 10 of our friends around and sit around and watch the cricket. Oh, hold on, the cricket's not on, so it doesn't matter about that anyway. But ScoMo has said he doesn't want people congregating in people's houses, doesn't want to have barbecues around, don't invite the next door neighbour over to sit around and watch a bit of TV. Stay in your own place with the people that you live with and stay separated. So that's fine, but it gets a bit tedious, and there are people that are still having birthdays and anniversaries and a whole range of things. So the House Party app is a way for you and I, wherever we might be, to gather together in a virtual environment. And I think the idea is absolutely fantastic. And what it might actually do is forget about inviting your friends around from your neighbourhood or the people from your street and having a party together like we used to. It's about getting those people that we might know across the world. They might have been people we went to school with and they're now living in another town, another city, another country, who knows. But you can get those people together for a virtual house party. So still enjoy all the benefits, sit there and have a beer at your place and have a beer at your place and not worry about someone stealing the beers out of the esky that you brought along to the party, and effectively have that same house party environment, but not actually have that environment physically next to each other.
Well, that could be very helpful, because it's going to get very boring. I've already got a friend of mine who's in isolation at the moment, and the old telephone's a great thing to relieve some of the boredom, but they're looking for things to do, and that's the situation, isn't it, now?
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting is the data is showing already that phone call traffic is actually increasing. Now, some of that might have been people trying to contact Centrelink about some payments they might get if they've lost their job, but I think a lot of that increase in traffic has also been around people just picking up the phone and ringing someone because they want to have a chat to them.
And that's a great thing. That's better than using social media all the time. And it's a lot more personal. Now, this is a maybe by the looks of it. Now, Coronavirus Australia, Delve, Atlassian work on a new app and the WhatsApp channel, and this is could be very useful. The government actually is using its own dedicated app to get information across, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, one of the things that's interesting is that Apple and Google have both been removing coronavirus apps from their digital stores because there are so many people creating apps, trying to get some following with those apps, or even possibly have some dastardly intentions and try and get some misinformation out there. And so one of the things that's really important about coronavirus is don't listen to your mate down at the pub. Don't listen to someone who starts talking about information on social media without really something to back them up. Have some sort of official mechanism, official way of getting the correct information out there. Now, we obviously rely on our politicians to get the correct information out there, but we use social media so much. So this development of this app and a WhatsApp channel is going to be another way to get official information, not just what someone heard down at the pub, or they're not at the pub anymore, what someone heard on social media. It's about getting that correct information out there and making sure people follow the guidelines that are the official guidelines. And that can be in relation to social isolation, it can be in relation to how you should behave, but businesses as well. There's some incentives coming out for people to make sure they keep their employees employed, to keep the economy somewhat still ticking over. And so for all of that, getting that right information, getting the official information out there is incredibly important.
Look, I think this is important, Matthew, because I actually think that the media has been very irresponsible in reporting the coronavirus. They want to be splitting hairs about whether you should have 5 or 10 people at a wedding or a funeral. It's just ridiculous nonsense. There's reasons why they've settled on those numbers, and we can't be hanging around arguing the point from journalists. They're not experts. At the end of the day, we just have to follow the best advice we get from our leaders and from our scientists, and get on with it and stop whinging. And there's no need for splitting hairs or trying to politicise this process, because this is well and truly beyond politics, and we all have to do our bit. So I think it's good, because there is a lot of information happening and misinterpretation, not only in the media, but also in social media, which had a conversation with you earlier about how my daughter looked up social media, and she's a dentist, in relation to what the government was doing, and the information on their particular app was wrong. So I said to her, just look up the government website. That's the only reliable information you're going to get. Don't listen to the TV or anybody else. I said, at the end of the day, you need to get it from the horse's mouth. And guess what? It was wrong. The information she was getting off social media was wrong. And what came off the government website pleased her no end, because then she found out she was eligible for the JobKeeper payment. So there you go.
Yeah. Now, it is important to get the information from the correct source. And I think the idea of having an app there that's the official app, and a WhatsApp channel that's an official WhatsApp channel, having those sort of things in place, I think very important.
Absolutely. And you're listening to Binjang 91.5 Tech Talk with Mathew Dickerson and your host Tony Graham. Stay tuned next week, and we'll come up with a lot more interesting things as time goes on. It can only get more interesting, hopefully, because we're going to be very bored, I think, over the next few months or so. And it's back to the program.
Thanks, Tony.
It's back to the program now on Binjang 91.5.